Welcome into the NBA Morning Deuce. Thursday, December 10th. We back. Another relatively slow off-season day. These are the kind of days that we expect when we are now 2 days away from preseason basketball. 2 days away from preseason starting. It's pretty wild. We do have one update to talk about with the James Harden situation. He has to take a lot of COVID tests to be able to play basketball in the NBA this year. This is how many COVID tests people have to take. That's a lot of COVID tests, but you got to be safe. Giannis, we got to talk about Giannis. Giannis does not care about his contract. He doesn't care.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Giannis does not care. Don't talk. Giannis, you know what Giannis cares about? Self-improvement. We should all take a little paid probably out of Giannis's book, right? Like self-improvement's a good thing.
I definitely should. Yeah. A lot of things I can improve on.
You know what improves most people? You know what would improve? Would improve me. $190 million.
I would take a couple steps forward in my personal life. My hygiene would be through the roof if I could.
You're finally
it would be night and day. This beard would be trim as a newly trimmed Christmas tree.
Oh, okay.
Is that topical? Or okay.
I mean, would you complain about your hair as much?
No, my hair would be elite with $190 million.
Elite hair.
Yep.
I would be interested to see that hair.
Mm-hmm.
But first, look, let's start. I want to start today with the ESPN ranking that we didn't really talk about yesterday, because as you very astutely noted yesterday, it's hard to even react to a top 100 list when only 100 through 50 is out. And so today, ESPN released 50 through 11, which means basically the whole list is out because you can, by deduction, figure out who the guys, maybe not the order, but who the guys in the top 10 are. And people on the internet are fucking pissed. They are
New for them. They're normally this tepid, quiet bunch, but this got them riled up.
Yeah, people on the internet are happy. And I can't say that I totally disagree with them, or I'm sort of on the fence. So we're going to talk it out here a little bit.
Okay. The
reason people are pissed is because ESPN has Zion Williamson ranked 19th on their top 100 players for 2021 for the 2021 NBA season. Now, I don't even think I clarified this yesterday. I'm not even sure I totally understood that this was what the list was. This is a projection of their top 100 players for this NBA season. Like these are the guys,
important.
They think these are going to be the top 100 guys in this order. So they think that this season, like as the season progresses, I guess, or maybe even towards the end of the season, whatever, that Zion will be the 19th best player in the NBA. So now, because of that, I'm on the fence on this ranking.
Yeah. So first of all, that little nugget, that clarification starts to make sense about the anomaly that was Lonzo Ball at like 54. Whoever made this list is super high on the Pelicans. They think the Pelicans are going to be insane. Yeah. So that makes a little bit, it's still crazy. I think Zion Williamson at 19 is way too high. But like, this is just guesswork. Like I don't know. Yeah. Like why make a list like that? This is just some guy that was like, yeah, I think Zion Williamson is going to be really good. Like what is the point of this list?
That's not a real question. What's the point of this list?
Yeah. The point of the list is to get people to click and see advertisements and make money. Right. Yeah.
Well, and get angry because they troll people by putting Lonzo Ball 54th and Zion 19th. And then it goes, and then it's trending on Twitter.
Right. Okay. Well, how about this?
Okay.
The list is completely useless because it's complete. The word is escaping me, but like you can't argue it because it's just someone's opinion. This is what it is going to be like. So we won't able to really be able to shred this for another couple months when it's completely wrong.
Well, I'm not looking to argue it. I'm looking to discuss where we would be. I'm not arguing it one way or the other because it's actually really interesting because my first reaction when I saw it was, yeah, they're absolutely out of their fucking minds to say that Zion's the 19th best player in the NBA. But the more I looked at it, here are the guys that were ranked in the top 50 nearly below him that I'm like, right now are no question better than him. Paul George, Jamal Murray, Brad Beal, Karl Anthony Towns, Brandon Ingram, Ja Morant, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis. They're all ranked below him. I might have missed one of the guys there. So that would, if you were ranking right now in the NBA, that would put him 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27th in the NBA. I don't even know if he's 27th best player in the NBA right now because there's other guys like Drew Holiday was lower. There's other guys on the list that are lower that are probably
Russell Westbrook is like 34 or something.
Russell Westbrook, guys that are lower than him right now. However, when I look at this list and I look at what Zion did, because statistically speaking, he was a beast in the games that he did play. He only played 24 games, but he averaged like 22 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 58% from the field. I mean, he looked good. He looked pretty incredible, statistically speaking, in the games that he played. It would not be it wouldn't shock me to see Zion end up as a top 30 player in the NBA by this year.
Me neither. Not even, yeah, definitely. I think it's, honestly, I lean towards likely. Top 30 player, likely. I don't know about top 20 player, but
yeah, I mean, but for example, like Ben Simmons is 16th.
Yeah, that's.
Do you see Zion being better than Ben Simmons this year?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Easily. Yes.
But now here's the thing. Zion Williamson is not the best player on his team. Brandon Ingram is right now.
Yep.
But Brandon Ingram's ranked lower. So my question becomes, even just for us, in terms of, let's say Zion averages 20 and 10, like a block, shoots 55% from the field, 22 and 10 or something like, 3 assists. But Ingram averages 27 a game. Who's higher?
Well, you're definitely defense is gonna be a big part of that, I guess, right? I mean, Brandon Ingram, I think, in order to become like a really, really great player, Brandon Ingram's gonna have to make vast improvements on defense.
Yeah.
And we're kind of assuming, we haven't seen it much of Zion Williamson, but we think that's a very strong part of his game, is that he can guard multiple positions.
We think. And then he could potentially be a rim protector.
Yeah, if Brandon Ingram averages 27 a game, then I'm gonna say he's the best player on that team. But that it could, at the end of the day, could come down to how many assists and how great defense Zion's playing, steals.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm super high on Brandon Ingram. That's been established, but I like Zion a lot too.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he's definitely in the 20s by the end of next season. He's got to stay healthy. We also have to see how much it looked like. Didn't it look like he lost a lot of weight too?
Yeah. Yeah, that could go. I mean, it could be a bad thing, but also could be a great thing if it keeps him healthier. But a huge part of his game is just physicality. So maybe losing too much weight is a mistake, but not if it keeps him healthy. But he was looking way trimmer. But if that's from like really great nutrition and just better cardio, then I'm all for it.
I'm just fascinated. Like when you look at a list like this, like how could you watch Jaylen Brown in the playoffs and say that Zion's going to be a better player than Jaylen Brown next year? Jaylen Brown could be a franchise player if he wasn't playing for the Celtics because they have Jason Tatum, who's 11th on this list and probably should be in the top 10 in terms of for next season. Like entering next season, we don't have the list yet, but it's like, it's got to be LeBron, Kawhi, KD, Steph, James Harden, which is questionable now.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic.
I'm counting along with you. We need.
AD.
Yep.
That's 7.
Giannis.
That's 8.
Did you say Luka?
Luka, 9.
I was trying to do this earlier.
Dame.
And Damian Lillard at 10. Okay, those are the 10.
Yeah, I guess those guys might be better than Tatum, but Tatum could probably enter that conversation.
I think Tatum will definitely leap Lillard for sure. And depending on Steph's health, depending on a bunch of guys' health, yeah, honestly. I mean, Tatum could be way, way up there if Steph Curry and Kevin Durant are not the same players. Not saying they won't be, but this list is so like hypothetical, man. It's like, why not? Yeah. I'm not going to.
But where do you think Zion ends up next year?
I think probably mid-20s. I think 19 is a little too high, but it's not like outrageous. It's outrageous if the list was based on right now. We've established that. But in terms of what I think is going to happen, I think he'll be mid-20s if we're going to make that list.
Yeah, and I also think like because of the small sample size and him averaging 22 points a game, that's going to I think that's going to drop. Which is weird because I think most people assume like, oh, he's going to get better full season development and all that. But unless his offensive skill set totally changed, I think part of what happened last year was he came in the middle of the year, came in towards the end of the year or whatever it was when games didn't matter as much to most of these teams when he was playing. And they had never seen him before. And it was just like throw him out there and he was just going nuts.
Yeah.
He's not hard to figure out offensively. So unless he's just a terror in transition and cleaning up offensive boards and stuff like that, like 22 a game might be a lot for him next year. Like I could see him dropping to like 18 and 9 or 18 and 8.
Me too. And that wouldn't necessarily be disappointing to me. That's what's so interesting about him and the Pelicans. It's like their number one blue chip can't miss young guy isn't going to be their leading scorer. It's just weird, but yeah, as long as he's with, I'm assuming Brandon Ingram.
Yeah,
it's really unique. But yeah, I just don't. If Brandon Ingram averages 27 a game, people are going to think he's had a better season than Zion. I think, unless he's just unreal defensively.
Well, here's the thing, and this is where there's going to be a lot of bias when these conversations start happening. Because the majority of people outside of myself, and I'll be patting myself on the back if I end up being right about this, the majority of people are about as high on Zion as they've been on a player since maybe Anthony Davis.
Okay.
And media types in particular need to be right. Like they need to be able to justify why they get paid to do what they do. And they need to be able to go on Twitter and go on shows and pump their chest and be like, I told you Zion was the best player in history. So the narratives he's going to come out in the first time he has a 30-point game. The narratives are going to start. Future of the NBA. This is the kid's everything we thought he was, this and that. It happens with young guys all the time. And then when they don't develop, right? Like, I guess the perfect right now is Giannis. Now, like Giannis got back-to-back MVPs, and now people don't think he's good enough to have the ball at the end of games. Is that true? I don't know. But earlier, like a couple years after his first year in the league, everyone said, this guy's the future. So now every time he does something good, it's like, told you. I've been saying all along Giannis was going to be the guy. Sort of going to happen with Zion too. So I think all he has to do is have like a good season next year, and people are going to have him right in this mix.
Yeah, definitely. And
they want him to be so badly because they all said he was going to be the next thing.
Yes, 100%. And and if the Pelicans like surprise us here and grab like a 6 seed or something, the hype will be off the charts. I mean, the hype's already off the charts, but the horn tooting, if you will be off the charts.
He's not better than Ja Morant right now. And potentially next year, like the Grizzlies were almost a playoff team with basically just Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Like Zion could be great, but he'll never. I don't think he can. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy who single-handedly takes your team to the playoffs. Like if they didn't have Brandon Ingram this year, I would not be very high on this team right now.
I'm with you. Yeah, I would not be thinking if you just remove Zion from the equation, or if you just remove Brandon Ingram from the equation, I don't think this is a playoff team.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think like if you gave me these young guys that they have, and you're like Zion's the guy, and then I have JJ and Eric Bledsoe and whoever the fuck Steven Adams now, be like, okay, this is fine, but like I don't know, man. There's something about he doesn't strike me as a guy who is going to be the guy who leads you to the playoffs, like as your number one guy, which is crazy because he's supposed to be the best prospect since AD, and maybe even
he's only played 20 something games, so we're like maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Maybe we're singing.
It's just his skill set. I'm not sure what. I've always said this when I watched him. I don't see his skill set as a number one option in the NBA ever.
Okay, I mean, right. But you don't see that about like Ben Simmons either, right? Or I mean, because you're way higher. I mean,
well, it's different because Ben Simmons is a point guard,
right?
So
much better
like a point guard can lead you to the playoffs. He's probably not going to lead you to an NBA championship win, but Ben Simmons can, in the right situation, build a team around Ben Simmons and have him with the ball in his hands the majority of the game and be a playoff team. I think because you could.
I think Zion can get. I do. I think Zion can be that eventually. I mean, he's got to improve.
If he does, then he's going to be one of the more unique players we've seen because I don't know what his offensive skill set even is. Yeah, and I know we've only played 24 games, but we saw him play in college. I didn't know what it was in college. And yeah, maybe you could make the excuse that like he's just so much more athletic than everybody, so he didn't have to show a lot of the things in college. But even the little bit of time, like everyone, they praise like his ball handling and his passing and stuff, but it's not that good. Like it's good for a guy who looks like Zion. But like, don't tell me that you would even be remotely comfortable with Zion like initiating your offense right now.
Not right now, no. But I think the development is there.
But yeah. The shot's going to have to be so much better, which is the biggest concern. Ultimately, it's the same thing with Ben Simmons. Always was with Ben Simmons. It just hasn't gotten better. Will Zion ever be able to really consistently shoot the ball? Not just like catch and shoot jumpers, but like will he ever have a pull-up game the way he plays? I don't know. I don't think he even jumps when he shoots.
He jumps a little bit. He jumps a little bit, I think.
Like a tiny, for a guy who's that athletic, it's like this much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he has such a weird offensive game. I just don't know that he'll ever be much higher than where this is. Other than people creating narratives to put him higher than this.
It's fair. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting. He's probably one of the most interesting players in the league in terms of this podcast, just because we're on pretty much opposite ends of the spectrum with the guy. I'm super high on him. You're not super low on him. You're just not. You're
opposite end of the spectrum. I know what he is. He's a very good player. He's probably going to be an all-star for a long time. Mm-hmm. But a guy with that type of hype and being the first overall pick, you're not drafting him to be an all-star. Right. Drafting him to take you to an NBA championship eventually. So, I don't know. What's interesting, the one player that they had ranked that I was pretty surprised to see how high he was, but I'm not mad at it, was Bam, 13th.
Yeah, I knew you were going to be happy with that because you were saying that. I mean, last offseason you were saying, or last playoffs you're saying, with another offseason under his belt, he could be just an absolute
type player,
stud. Yeah, and he's knocking on the door already in ESPN or whoever the fuck made this list's eyes. So
ESPN, someone else, some group of people,
some guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than I'm surprised that they already are anticipating him being that high on the, as an NBA player, but he is that good, man. Like, God, I can't imagine just watching both of them play. And again, I know it's reactionary because Zion has only played a few games, but like, I can't imagine a scenario where Zion has a better career than Bam. I just can't.
You can't imagine it, Joey?
No.
You got to open your mind a little bit.
Bam is already way more skilled, and he will always be more skilled because he's one of the most skilled big men in the league. He's a freak. Like, how freaky do you have to be? Like, really, at some point, like the freak athleticism scale, you hit a peak where it's like, all right, anything above this, you're all this, right? Like,
I disagree because Russell Westbrook, that's really his number one advantage over everybody, and he's
6'3".
Yeah.
Okay, like we're not talking about point guards, we're talking about power forwards now.
I think Zion Williamson's athleticism does actually put him, like, he is in a separate tier in terms of freakish athleticism from even Bam, and that's not even taking anything away from Bam.
That, but like, will having that just elite freak athleticism? By the way, Bam is not like that far behind anybody. He is an absolute freak of an athlete. Like, will the skill ever catch up with the athleticism? Because for Bam, it kind of already has. And the only thing he's really missing is a shot. And I'll tell you what, I have a lot more confidence that Bam will eventually be able to develop a shot Zion. So I'm just saying, like, I just don't see a scenario where Zion ends up being a better player than Bam, which would be, he'd probably be disappointing to a lot of people.
People in New Orleans for sure. But I mean, I can imagine a scenario where Bam Adebayo racks up his knee and is never the same player again. I mean,
well, come on, like, why do you like that? Like,
you couldn't even imagine one. I'm just telling you, you got to let your mind go.
I always imagine that everyone's healthy. Okay. If when I'm doing these hypotheticals and I'm looking forward, I'm not ever imagining somebody getting hurt. I'm not gonna. Why would I imagine that? Like, why would you even put that into the world?
I don't know.
Fucking scumbag.
Because it just surprised me. I don't know, because you can't look. You have to understand where my teams are. Like, I'm so diehard about these teams. I'm built to look at worst case scenario.
Okay, but first of all, if you're going to say that about one of these two players, shouldn't it be Zion?
I'm not saying either one's going or even likely to happen. I'm just saying,
like, I can imagine a scenario where someone blows out their knee. Yeah, Zion.
But the question was, you said I can't imagine a scenario.
I'm just saying, if one of these two guys, if you're imagining one of these scenarios, doomsday scenario with one of these guys, it's probably the 6'6" guy who weighs the same as the 6'10" guy.
Agreed, but I'm imagining both scenarios. They've both been imagined by me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I never do. That makes you a scumbag.
No, it makes Markelle Fultz. Ever heard of him? I mean, you have to think of just impossibilities if you want to protect yourself. Okay.
I think Fultz just didn't want to be in Philly.
Oh, that's a whole nother can of worms. We got to move on.
I was just surprised to see Bam here. Okay. I think that's a controversial take by me, by the way. That I don't see a scenario where Zion ends up being better than Bam.
Yeah, I do think, because I can see a couple of scenarios, but I am higher on Zion.
You're higher on Zion than Bam?
No, I'm higher on Zion than you are.
Are you higher on Zion than Bam?
No.
Okay. All right. At least we agree.
I can see a scenario where Zion is the better player. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know how.
Okay.
I don't get it. But I'm in the minority.
Right. Yeah. You just said it was controversial. So
it's controversial. You are in the majority here. Most people probably, first of all, actually now people have seen Bam play because of the finals and the Eastern Conference Finals. So now he's sort of a household name. But had they not made it that far in the playoffs, then people would be like, who the fuck is Bam Adebayo anyways? You know, they'd be like, how could you even say that? Now at least it's a conversation because of how far they went. But which is good because he's good at basketball. All right. Speaking of Philly, James Harden. You like that? That's a good thing.
I guess so. Anybody who didn't catch any NBA news and just heard that is like, did he get traded to Philly? Is James Harden in Philly? He's not.
No, he's not. So we found out today that James Harden has to have 6 consecutive negative COVID tests to clear the protocol, which means at the earliest that he can practice would be Monday, assuming he tests negative all 6 times. That's a lot of COVID tests. I hope it's a real COVID test with the thing where they touch your brain.
Right. How unconfident are they in these tests that he has to clear 6 of them? Like, why wouldn't he just, like, are they not accurate? I don't understand.
Well, I think probably they're like, how many different strains of COVID were there at little baby's birthday party?
I guess, but hopefully your tests would be able just the first one, and then, okay, we'll do a second one just in case.
But don't guys have to like, aren't they getting tested every day?
I don't know. I don't know if every guy is getting tested every day. I'm not sure of that.
Huh.
That's a shitload of tests for.
I looked around. I couldn't find many other details about this other than he has to have 6 negative COVID tests. I don't know where they come up with that number. Like, I don't know anything other than it's a shitload of tests, man.
A lot. Yeah.
And also just sort of emphasizes like just the absurdity of getting sports going. What's like, and this is probably a different conversation for a different podcast, but like, I think you know where I'm going, where it's like,
exactly where you're going. Yeah.
Where
there's
it's like,
nurses that can't get these fucking things, and this guy's taking 6 of them. Yeah.
Right. To practice. We're not a game. Not a game.
Now you're talking Philly. Okay, good. Yeah. Good. You brought that full circle.
Now we're talking practice. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
No. Is it the soccer movie? Right.
It's a show with Jason Sudeikis. But
it
is
a show. I thought it was a movie. Okay.
Yeah. No. He's a college. There's an incredible scene. Spoiler alert! If you want me to explain what happens in the scene.
Yeah. Go. I'm not going to watch it, so you can tell me.
Spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1. So he's he's a college football coach who gets hired to coach a Premier League team. And there's a guy, and whatever, long, just skipping into this part in the season, there's like this cocky asshole player on the team, and he can't get through to him. And the whole character, he's like super positive, doesn't let things get to him, really like nice to the players and all this. And the player is sitting in his locker, like not getting, like not going to practice. And Sudeikis is like furious. And he's like, he walks out of his office and walks over to the player. And he's like, so you're telling me you're not going to practice, not play a game. We're talking about practice, not a game, practice. You're sitting here, you're going to be my star player. And we're talking about not practice. And he just goes on the whole Iverson rant to this Premier League player, and none of them know what it is.
Right.
And everyone's like, fuck yeah, coach stepped up for the first time and like grew some balls, and he just walked back into his office.
That's awesome. I love the immortality of that press conference. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's beautiful.
Great scene. Anyways, James Harden has to take a lot of COVID tests.
My big takeaway is like, why are they not confident in 2 tests? I don't understand. But okay.
What if Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Rockets, was like, make this motherfucker as uncomfortable as possible until we trade him. Now that he's back, we're like, again, they said they were willing to get uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just like, we're going to make James super uncomfortable until we find the right trade. Like if he wants to be a dick, we're going to be a dick.
I buy it 100%, especially after watching Succession and understanding how these super rich people think. It's all a little like, it's just always about little things like that, like little needling and dominating a person basically. So I like him being like, yeah, give him, he's supposed to take 3. Okay, make it 6. Like that's probably what's happening here. You know, why would he have to take 6 COVID tests? It doesn't make any sense.
They asked Steven Silas if they had any interaction, and he said, I said hello to him.
Oh, man. That he's racking up some hilarious little like mini they're not even quotes, they're just like one-offs.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was watching a clip from The Jump where they were sort of going through this situation, and Rachel Nichols was like, I'll tell you what, I guess just Rachel Nichols doesn't have a deep voice.
I don't know why. I was very confused by that.
No, she was like, I'll tell you what, Steven Silas has handled this really well for a rookie head coach. So, hey, if it all turns out good for my guy, then this is all worth it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, the only way he could really mess us up is if he starts getting like angry or something. I don't know. But yeah, he's just playing it cool. He's just hanging in there.
Like a cucumber.
Yeah.
That cool.
Exactly.
Like a polar bear's toenails.
Yeah. Did you make
Cooler,
that up?
maybe cooler than that.
What is that from a rap? What is that from a classic rap song?
Jesus. I can't reference. I did a Carly Simon thing yesterday. You missed it. Now I'm telling Andre 3000.
Yeah.
I
should have gotten that one. I'm not apologizing for the Carly Simon thing, but
okay. Let's move on to the next topic. I'm just like been shitting on you.
I'm having a great day.
Yeah, You haven't complained about your hair, so that's good. Giannis is not focused on his contract, but everybody else on the planet is. But Giannis says he is not focused on his contract, that his agent and the GM are. He's just focused on improving. He's focused on his improving, not focused on the contract.
Wouldn't it be kind of funny? And I know this isn't the case. I know Giannis is like a very intelligent dude, but wouldn't it be funny if he like really doesn't understand the salary cap and like that this is a huge issue for them to try to like make decisions moving forward and stuff? And he genuinely doesn't understand. Like, why does everybody care like how much money I make?
Maybe. Yeah.
He cares about it. He has to care about or I guess he knows he's going to make the maximum amount of money possible. But you'd think he'd care in the sense of like, I want to get a title, so let me like work with, let whatever team I'm going to play for, let them know how much I'm making and figure things out.
It strikes me as this guy does not want to be in Milwaukee anymore.
Yeah.
Which is what it really seems like. Because I feel like if he wanted to be there and he knew he wanted to be there, he'd be like, yeah, don't worry, I'm going to sign it.
Maybe he wants to see how good they are with Drew.
I don't know. I feel like that's possible, but also he's got to he's got to do something this offseason. When you have $190 million on the table, you don't play on your current contract and risk something catastrophic happening and missing out on that money next year.
I guess. I mean, I would be with. I think we actually talked about this a while ago, where like he's entered that KD realm where he knows like he is going to get a max, even if he misses a year with an injury. Like he's going to get a max contract.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about a KD injury. I'm talking about like a Sean Livingston injury.
Okay.
Now this is where we can actually talk about the potential because we're talking about what he could lose, right? Like here's where the injury conversation makes sense, Alex. Learn something here, okay? These hypothetical injuries.
Okay.
If you're a player, you have to take that into consideration when you're saying the potential of like, I'm not going to sign my extension or agree to my extension or whatever it is this year. I'm going to wait it out and see what happens, especially when we're talking about he makes $27 million this year. It's not even for the guy who just won back-to-back MVPs. It's like pocket change,
Yeah, that's pretty good. 27 mil?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Russell Westbrook's making $47 million this year. So is John Wall. So just in context, I mean, and if you're Giannis, something has to happen this offseason, whether it's trying to force a trade or signing that deal. But I don't see a scenario where it's like Bam in Miami. Like everyone was like, oh, there's the cat. Everyone was like, well, Pat Riley and the Heat will convince him to wait a year till he signs his extension so they have flexibility next year. But I feel like if you're Bam, you're like, no.
Right.
No. I mean, something I think a lot of players, the way Gordon Hayward just signed a max deal, and that guy, his leg snapped in half or whatever happened to him, right? So I think there's a lot of players who have leeway after a season-ending injury. But I'm saying if player and you're talking 5 years, $190 million, you probably have to think, what if I get into a terrible car accident, tomorrow? Who's taking care of how's my family getting? Like that's more of the thought process.
I guess. Yeah. I guess it doesn't make a lot of sense for him not to just get the deal done as soon as he can.
Or ask for a trade.
Yeah.
Like something, whether it's a trade or he stays, something's got to happen this offseason. Even though he has a year left on his deal, it just doesn't make sense for him to wait it out.
Maybe he's thinking, and he and his agent are thinking he's just way more tradable without signing the deal. Like the deal.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if he signs a 5-year deal, he's not getting traded unless they somehow work in like an agreement that if it doesn't work out, they'll trade him. I guess Paul George had something like that in OKC where he signed his deal, but there was like an agreement between him and Presti where it's like, if it doesn't work out after this year, then I'll get you guys. He'll trade me. Yeah. And here's the thing: he won't be harder to trade, even if he signs a supermax, unless he gets hurt or he sucks, which probably neither are going to happen to an extent where people wouldn't want him. Anybody would trade for Giannis on a 5-year deal. You only have to match the salary for that first year, and then you figure it out the rest of the way.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I was missing then. So yeah, they can figure it out.
Match $190 million. If the first year he'll probably make like $40 million in the first year. So would it be hard? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Harder.
The NBA. So nothing. It's not. Nothing's impossible. Like, right. Even the Lakers don't have the money probably, but somebody would figure it out if it was on the table.
Yeah,
definitely a lot easier to trade for the Bucks right now. Like if they were trying to get value back, he only makes $27 million. So if he requests now, then it would be easier to move him from a salary standpoint.
Right.
But if it gets to a point where the Bucks are ever willing to trade him, someone's figuring that shit out and giving up everything.
I mean, the other aspect of this is like, what is he supposed to say about it? Like, it's just like kind of like your classic. I'm not focused on it. He doesn't want to talk about it. That's more.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you're right, but I also feel like if he wanted to be there, he'd just be like, "No, I'm a Buck. I'll be here."
Right. I'm saying. I think he's truly on the fence. Is what I'm saying. That's what I kind of think.
Sure. And I think that's. I mean, god damn! If you're the Bucks and Bucks fans and Bucks media, that's got to be super concerning. At this point,
they're like just trading for Drew Holiday.
Besides from Drew Holiday, who cares about what you traded? None of that shit matters. Look, rebuilding, trading draft picks, all that shit. If you lose Giannis, having those 4 draft picks back, it's not a big fucking deal. You just lost the back-to-back MVP, franchise player, top 5 player in the NBA. The odds of you immediately rebuilding just because you had those 4 draft picks are very small. So the concern is not like it'll help, but like you're still going to be in a lot of trouble if you lose Giannis, whether you made the deal or not. Like the concern to me wouldn't be, oh, we just made this deal for Drew, so we got to keep Giannis. The concern for me would be, fuck, we lost Giannis.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I'm just saying it. But then when you look around and you're like, well, how do we fix this thing? Well, we just traded away to try to appease this guy, they're in a huge, if they lose him, obviously losing the back-to-back reigning MVP is the big blow. But then it's like, where does this franchise go from there? They're set back 5 years if he leaves.
Yeah,
it's going to be. I think it's going to get ugly in Milwaukee.
Doesn't look good for those guys.
Yeah.
Last thing for today, and this one is I just thought was a cool story. Pau is reportedly considering returning, looking to return, eyeing a return to the Lakers to play with his brother, Mark.
That'd be cool.
And obviously a lot of history there, right? 1-2 titles with Kobe. Pau and Mark are the only brothers to ever win titles. So not only, I mean, they're obviously already the only brothers to win titles, but then I guess they would also be the only brothers to ever win titles on the same team, which would be cool.
That'd be incredible.
I would just love, like, I never met Pau, but I obviously have talked on this podcast about Mark and how awesome he is. I would imagine Pau is very similar. They're brothers. They're probably Pau, by all accounts and everything you see on like social media and just seeing him in his career, seems like a good dude. So just seeing them together, even on the bench, will probably be fun. Like, will be a fun little storyline for a team that's probably going to win another title.
That would be really cool. And I also think Pau, I don't know how old that dude must be now, but I bet you he can give you a couple minutes here and there still.
So he was with the Blazers and he had surgery and he hasn't played he hasn't played 5-on-5 basketball in like a year. Like, he's pretty old and he hasn't played in a long time. I don't know. I'd imagine he's probably wouldn't be the worst player in the NBA. If he's healthy, but
something for a couple minutes, just because of how skilled he is,
yeah, I mean, who was it? Someone today from the Lakers was saying that Marc Gasol is already he didn't say better than JaVale and Dwight, but he already said like he already brings what they brought defensively, but he can shoot. So he's a little like they're already sort of praising what he's bringing to that team.
I buy that. I was going to mention this the other day. I forget when, but remember Dwight Howard's impact on Jokic? Like just because of his size, like the dude is just huge, and that clearly had Jokic not comfortable. Marc Gasol can be like Marc Gasol is that big and that strong that he can.
He's not that athletic.
No, he's not that athletic. But remember, we were just talking about how like Dwight Howard's just like physicality seemed to have Jokic a little mess up. I mean, I feel like these teams are definitely going to meet again in the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're kind of singing the same thing. Like Marc Gasol is he's just so goddamn strong down there that Jokic isn't comfortable.
That should be true, but he was so bad in the playoffs last year, Marc Gasol. Like he was very bad. And hopefully it was just a thing. Maybe it was the bubble, maybe, whatever. And it's not that he's just totally washed. But I mean, he's not young. He might even be older than Dwight.
They're probably close, I would assume.
I'm gonna check. But yeah, look, it's not like excuse me, it's not like going from Dwight and JaVale to Marc Gasol and Pau Gasol is a letdown. But Marc Gasol is 35, dude.
Yeah. How old? I mean, Dwight's up there. How old is Dwight?
Dwight is 35.
35. Yeah, they're right there.
Huh. Pau is 40.
Holy shit. I didn't realize they were 5 years apart.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I mean, it's just a really cool subplot. That'd be awesome to see them in the finals trying to get a ring as brothers.
It'd be cool. Pau comes back to LA. Everyone in LA loves him because he won those titles. So yeah, that'd be fun. I'd like to see it. I want to see Mark be successful. I like him. Good guy. All right, that's it for today. Tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, live.
Okay. Yep.
On YouTube, Underdog, and Underdog Twitch.
Woo!
Simultaneously streaming on both.
Simulcast in the biz.
Yeah, they call that a simulcast in the biz. So check us out. We'll be there. We'll talk about basketball. That's what we do. If you don't want to be there, then at least leave us a comment and a like on this video or on Apple Podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review. You know the deal by now, people. Let's go. A little up and down on the YouTube page lately. Let's keep going up. We don't need up and down. We need up. Okay? Not up and down. We need up. Alex, anything that you want to leave the people with?
No, just that we are 2 days away from organized basketball on our televisions or connected devices or wherever the hell you're going to watch it. That's a weird way to say that, but we got basketball soon. So
yep. But until then, we'll see you tomorrow at 10. Later.